what a medical fitness exercise specialist does is takes into consideration the limitations that their clients may have after they've had surgery or treatment or medication. So they're actually taking them from medical management and bringing them along the fitness continuum to better health and even beyond.
So today we have on the Holistic Nutrition Hub podcast, Heather Creamer from MedeXN Fitness Institute, and she's here to talk about the courses that they offer for nutrition practitioners as well. So Heather, can you just quickly explain who you are, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Heather Creamer. I'm a personal trainer, cancer exercise specialist, certified coach practitioner, and I'm also a R.H.N registered holistic nutritionist. And I was a graduate from the School of Natural Nutrition. In my previous life, I worked for a large corporation. So this is kind of a second career for me, and it's my passion and my joy. I did sales and marketing, did a lot of travel, had a lot of stress, and I know that probably contributed to my health concern, which was a diagnosis of breast cancer back in 2011. So in 2012, I underwent a surgery, so I did mastectomy with an immediate reconstruction. And about 3 months after that, I was into my recovery phase, and I was looking for support for my fitness. And previous to my my surgery, I had rowed. I loved rowing, but couldn't do that anymore because the type of surgery I had was called a deep flap. And essentially what they did was they took a section of tissue from my stomach, and after the mastectomy, they rebuilt the breast mound. So I literally had 200 stitches from hip to hip. Actually, the recovery from that was probably worse than the recovery from the mastectomy reconstruction.
Right, yeah.
But trying to row after you've had all of those stitches and everything was really tight,
Yeah.
It was just super uncomfortable. So it's like, oh, what do I do, right? So I went to a local gym, and I started working with a personal trainer, and she was absolutely sweet and lovely, very knowledgeable. But my first session, I literally was so exhausted and sore, and I almost couldn't make my way to my vehicle. I was going to ask for help. My legs were so wobbly. That was kind of my first exposure to fitness after having undergone all of this treatment and surgery and everything. It wasn't great, but anyway, I kept up with it. And after a few years, I just realized I was feeling so good. And I felt like I had a calling, like I needed to help other people that were going through that cancer experience, their own journey, to help them get back to their fitness. So I ended up leaving my corporate job, and I became a personal trainer and a cancer exercise specialist, which really opened my eyes to, all of the things that I was doing that were wrong.
Yeah.
There was definitely a certain protocol, and we weren't following it. But I was able to, work with my clients and give them the benefit of my experience and the knowledge that I had gained. But then there was something missing. Like I spoke, and a lot of personal trainers I know are the same. Your clients ask you all the time about nutrition. Yeah. And at the time, our scope of practice as a personal trainer is Canada Food Guide.
Yes.
At the time, it was a pyramid.
Yes.
We all remember the pyramid, right? And it's like, okay, this isn't really working for my clients, a lot of whom had health concerns. They were older, thyroid issues, digestive issues, all kinds of things going on. So
that led you down the path of going into nutrition, correct?
It did, and actually it was interesting, and how I ended up becoming an R.H.N. I was doing a continuing education course with my cancer exercise certification, and the instructor, I don't know how we got onto the subject, but we started talking about acid reflux, and I used to suffer really badly with acid reflux, and I was on a proton pump inhibitor, and it was just not fun. Anyway, the instructor said to me, well, did you realize that, most people think that acid reflux is caused by a lot of stomach acid, and it's actually the opposite, that it's because you don't have enough stomach acid. And it's like, what? How does that work? So told me all about how the low stomach acid impacts your digestion. So you start bloating, things aren't moving, and then the gases are coming up, and it's bringing those stomach acids into your esophagus, and then it feels like acid reflux, and it's very uncomfortable. Which anybody that's experienced it, they understand.
Yes.
And it's like, that was so cool. I got to learn more. I just felt like I had to know. So I ended up doing some research and going with the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and took the course. So I was able to provide that extra value to my clients.
Brilliant. And from there, you've done something really cool. You've kind of merged your love for nutrition through your experience. And then as a personal trainer, you've now come up with MedeXN. And that is your passion now too. Can you explain to the listeners what MedeXN actually is?
Okay, so MedeXN Fitness Institute, and we'll say MedeXN actually stands for, it's an acronym for Medical Fitness, Exercise, and Nutrition. So what we provide are online certifications and courses in the field of medical fitness exercise, and those are for fitness and nutrition professionals, allied health professionals like massage therapists, physical therapists, anybody who has an interest in medical fitness exercise and nutrition. And I realize probably a lot of listeners and a lot of people don't understand or haven't heard of that terminology, medical fitness exercise. So essentially what we're doing, or medical fitness exercise and fitness, what a medical fitness exercise specialist does is takes into consideration the limitations that their clients may have after they've had surgery or treatment or medication. So they're actually taking them from medical management and bringing them along the fitness continuum to better health and even beyond. I mean, in my case, I thought I was pretty fit, but after I went through like especially with the program of cancer exercise, I became even more fit afterwards, which was a real benefit. And so just to give also some context, some of the different specializations that you can do, for example, like I am cancer exercise specialist, could include functional aging, so helping people move more functionally with their activities of daily living. Brain health training is actually a thing. It's pretty cool. Working with clients with diabetes or pre-diabetes, working to help people reduce their stress. That's a really big one, mind, body.
Right. And those are all the ones that are relevant to nutritionists that don't have any prerequisites. Is that correct?
Exactly. So, and just to step back a little bit, like most practitioners, like I found diversifying really helped to bring in some additional revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of support one another. So my practice as a personal trainer and a cancer exercise specialist brings me in nutrition clients, and then vice versa. So, and I know as nutritionists, we are often told to build our practice around a niche market. And that's actually really smart, because generalizing is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
If you bring it down and you constantly become more of an authority on one subject, more than likely you're going to attract other people that are looking for that type of service. But you can also add extra things that kind of layer in, and it's kind of I guess you offer complementary services within that niche market. So we do actually have a number of courses that do not require prerequisites. So you don't have to be a PT or a kinesiologist or an exercise physiologist. For example, if you're a nutritionist and you're also a really active person, active lifestyle, you can work with clients that are older and teach them functional aging. We have a functional aging specialist course where you learn how to work with older clients to help them become more physically active, because we know that's so important.
Yeah.
And there's an emphasis on core strength and balance and mobility, all of which helps with their activities of daily living. I mentioned the brain health course. So I actually had personal experience. One of the clients I had a few years ago was my first client with onset dementia, or early dementia, I should say. It wasn't onset, it was early dementia. And I did a lot of research on dementia and on nutrition for dementia, because it wasn't something that was really in the courses that I had taken, or the course that I had taken.
Yeah, we do a little bit of functional aging in food wise. I mean, in CSNN, but it's not enough if you're going to be working within that population, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I know we talk about lifestyle a lot with our clients. So if you're working with somebody that has cognitive function issues or concern about cognitive function, exercise is huge for them. When I was doing my research, I didn't realize at the time, for example, exercise helps the brain produce a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And it actually is like, we call it miracle grow for the brain. So it helps form new connections. And there's all kinds of studies now that support that it's efficacy for people that have cognitive function decline.
Right.
Exercise is excellent. So that's a really great course. The brain health trainer is so cool. What else? Diabetes and pre-diabetes. That is a huge area. So if you're working with clients that have either of those, 1/3 of Canadians are either diabetic or pre-diabetic.
Right.
So if we have a great level 1 foundation course that's part of our broader certification as a diabetes exercise specialist. You don't have to take the whole thing. The level 1 gives you all kinds of information about working with those clients that do have diabetes and prediabetes, and things that you need to consider, especially if you're making recommendations for exercise and lifestyle changes. And then mind body is a huge one, and that really speaks to a lot of nutritionists, because we believe the entire body, everything is connected.
Yeah.
And so stress management especially becomes a big thing. We have a couple of really neat courses. One is, and I don't know, you as a working with your client, when you're talking about stress management, do you ever recommend taking Tai Chi?
So here's the interesting part about this, and I've been kind of thinking about it personally while I've been doing my yoga teacher training, is how often, I mean, there are a lot of yoga teachers that come and do like a nutrition course or whatever. And so that sometimes you'll have that person who really understands why yoga would be good for a person. Whereas, when I was learning about it, they recommend do yoga or Tai Chi, but they don't tell you how to do it. They don't tell you the benefits of it. And now that I'm doing yoga for my fibromyalgia, I'm like, why didn't I take this more seriously in school? Or why wasn't it, I don't want to say pushed on me more, but in terms of stress relief and stress management and pain relief, yoga honestly has done more for me than nutrition has, to be honest. So when it comes to things like those modalities that we recommend, I really do think, experiencing it for yourself, just as you would experience a nutritional way of eating, like veganism or vegetarianism or paleo, so you know what you're recommending and getting somebody into. Well, why aren't you versed in Tai Chi if you're recommending Tai Chi? Why aren't you versed in yoga if you're recommending yoga? Because you don't understand the true power of what something can actually do for a person unless you've gone through it. So you guys have a course on Tai Chi, correct?
We actually do. It's called Open the Door to Tai Chi. It's taught by Diane Bailey. She is excellent. She's also a martial artist. She studies movement, and we know Tai Chi is so good, especially for the older clients. Excellent for movement, balance, mobility. I mean,
does
breathing.
It clear the lymphatic system the same way that yoga would?
That's actually a really good question. I know any movement. So I know as a cancer exercise specialist, we do a lot of lymphatic drainage exercises, and it's just moving everything through. So just the movement, because lymph doesn't have its own pump. It relies on our muscular contraction to move things, and breathing, right? Yeah. So with Tai Chi, you're doing a lot of movements. There's a lot of muscular contraction, and of course the breathing, the breath work. So absolutely, it should be very beneficial for moving the lymph. Yeah. And Diane teaches this course, so it's called Open the Door to Tai Chi. You don't have to know anything about it before you start. She takes you through the whole thing, teaches you how to not only learn about Tai Chi, but teaches you how to teach it. So
Nice.
you can actually, as a practitioner, you can have your nutrition business, and you can also do Tai Chi if that's something you'd be interested in. And again, Tai Chi customers or clients can become your nutrition clients and vice versa. So you're adding that extra layer of service, which is a benefit to them, but it also brings in the extra revenue stream. And then another course we have for stress management, developed by our course author, Robin Cade. And she has the Stress Management Institute for Health and Fitness Professionals. So she works in stress management, PTSD, and she has designed this course as a stress management consultant, so holistic stress management consultant. And so you can work with your clients on her system. Is called Relax. Lots of like stretches, breathing, and also using aromatherapy. So we have some pretty interesting courses, very diverse, but again, it allows you to bring in that extra revenue stream, and it's great for professional development.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, like, I mean, the ones that I think as nutritionists we need to be focusing on is really the stress management side of it. If you can go to somebody like and say, I'm a holistic like stress management specialist and I work within these realms, like I know how to do breathing and how to get you to calm yourself, your central nervous system down. And I mean, anxiety is just as prevalent in society today as I would say diabetes is, or depression for that matter. And so if you're going and you're working with, a population that could need nutrition help in these areas, you might as well be, retaining what I like to call is like client retention in as many ways as you possibly can. And so I do really think that these educational courses that could benefit you in other areas is really worth the time, not only for yourself and your own well-being, but in terms of building a business as well.
And you can actually incorporate a lot of these principles into a regular session, so they don't have to be totally separate. It's not like, with the stress management, it's a totally different thing than when you're doing with your nutrition counseling. You literally can put it in the same session. So imagine working with your client, you're talking about nutrition, you've got that done. And at the end, you do, partial stress reduction type of exercise, and they feel fabulous when they leave that session. Yeah, think they're not going to call you for another one?
Yeah, exactly. Come back, I need more.
And recommend all their friends to come as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. We're doing we talk a lot about nutrition, and it's so necessary, but that's one part of the body, or one thing to consider. And the lifestyle, we know, is so important.
Yeah.
And we can, we often rely on the client to be doing that part, and sometimes they just don't have the resources to do it. So you can actually become that resource, and it just gives them a better outcome at the end of the day.
And most likely they're going to be coming to you anyhow. I mean, for these recommendations, like when we're taught in school, and I think you probably have a similar experience to me, is that when I first started as a consultant, I was really consulting. Like I was telling people what to do. And I very quickly realized that does absolutely nothing. Like unless you're holding their hand, and it sounds really bad, but unless you're holding their hand through the process, because they don't know what they need, giving them one thing to work on, maybe for nutrition and then lifestyle, just as we normally do, but cutting it down into these little baby steps. And I like that idea of putting it in at the end of the session when they're learning about nutrition or whatever. I'm going to walk you through this 5-minute de-stress thing. It's something you can take into your daily life. I want you to practice it all week with your nutrition and tell me how you feel, And that is just those little things that actually boost our business so much in terms of retaining the client and getting them to come back. The coaching does the same thing. They're coming back for more of these little tidbits of information.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that. When I first graduated, I was like, oh, I'm going to prepare your menu, and here's your grocery list, and here's all of this stuff. And I mean, that's all important, but it can be overwhelming. And a lot of times, like, we have so much information we want to share.
Yeah, exactly.
But as coaches, we have to realize that people can only take in so much information at a time. So we need to kind of just chunk it down, make
Yeah.
it very simple, give them one thing, let them be able to do it, and
Yeah.
then add on, because success breeds success,
Yeah.
but being overwhelmed can lead to failure, and then they're just, then they disconnect,
Yeah,
right? So
100%. And I think it's a great corporate wellness potential too, in terms of, you know, not only are you selling yourself as a nutritionist, like, hey, I'll bring in a healthy snack, but I want to teach, these 3 topics, stress management, nutrition, and I don't know, sleep, for instance. And you get the corporation to kind of have you in there and teaching about that, and getting them to run through these little stress management things. I mean, we learned about it, but I don't know your experience. Did you know how to teach stress management or Tai Chi or yoga or anything, even though we learned to recommend it?
no, and that's one of the things. That's why I was laughing, because it's like I always was telling people, oh, you should do Tai Chi or you should do yoga, but I had no idea. And actually, I also mentioned Pilates, because Pilates is such wonderful breath work,
Yeah.
and the stretching and the strengthening. A lot of times, if you're just on the mat using body weight, and we have a Pilates mat course that's part of our cancer exercise program, but you can just take the Pilates mat, and it's not a certification, it's a certificate of completion, but it gives you kind of the underlying principles and exercises that you could use with your clients. I use them all the time. I actually developed a whole program around it, just like a stretch and tone for older individuals.
Right.
So not because they have cancer, but because they need to stretch and tone and learn how to breathe.
Yes.
Right. So, and it's a fabulous de-stressing. I mean, you go through one of those workouts, and by the time you're done, you're set for your day. It's wonderful. You just feel so relaxed. So absolutely, I agree with you. It wasn't something that we learned in school, and that's why just professional development, seeing what's out there, adding that extra value for your client. And it benefits everybody. It benefits you as a practitioner, because you're broadening your base. You're still in that niche, where you're going to bring in more potential customers, and recommendations for sure.
Well, I mean, and you're a perfect example of marrying the two, fitness with nutrition. And yes, you were a personal trainer first, and then you went to the nutrition world, but now you're actually adding in these little things that in areas that we learn about and we work in a lot, like there are cancer practitioners out there for nutrition, and people working with diabetes and metabolic syndrome. What's the other one? Well, and aging. I mean, the world's not getting any younger with all those baby boomers, right? So
No, it's interesting, because right now we have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 14. And Canada is an aging society, so 1 in 6 Canadians are over the age of 65.
wow.
By the year 2025, that's going to be 1 in 5. And by the year 2030, it's 1 in 4.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you're a practitioner, you need to learn how to work with these older individuals, because they're the ones that usually have the disposable
income.
Right? And they have the need. They need the support. They really do.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a quarter of the population. So if you're looking for something that's going to take your practice long term, learning to work with older individuals, and then again, they come with a myriad of health concerns, right? So pick, if something interests you, like if you want to work with somebody with cognitive function, like I said, there's different areas that you can look at. The brain health trainer is awesome. Functional aging is awesome. If you're, and a lot of them have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and you want to help them, because you literally can, with pre-diabetes, in a lot of cases, reverse it so it doesn't develop into diabetes. And that's where we want to get to, right? So you can help your clients to do that. So there's just so many benefits of looking kind of outside the box.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it'll broaden your scope of practice.
100%. I think, and that's the part that I want to like kind of hit home, is like, it does kind of give that validity of your recommendation. Like, you have gone and taken the time to go through this course, to learn it, instead of just making a loose end recommendation. Are these the courses that you offer that have continuing education units attached to them?
They do, and actually, so if, for example, if you're in the fitness world already, all of these courses have certificate, like continuing education credits for all of the major organizations, including CanFit Pro and the all of the provincial associations, and then also the ones in the U.S.
Right.
And we also have petition letters. So if you want, if one of those organizations or an organization you're certified under and you want to use it as continuing ed, we provide petition letters, and then they can submit those for it.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
But for nutritionists, go on and take a look at the courses. I mean, if there's something that tweaks your interest, they are online courses, so you can do them at your leisure. That's a really nice thing. And they do give you such insight into, and give you more depth. So when you're talking with your clients, you really have that extra layer of connectivity, because you get a greater understanding of you know, what they're going through. Like I said, if it's on brain health or functional aging or diabetes or whatever whatever your interest or area of interest is.
Right. And I think it's really important too, because I think that what that ends up doing is just giving you that extra level of knowing exactly where to start with them too, you know, in terms of, I'm thinking like somebody with diabetes, you know, like you may not know, you know, what medications they're taking other than the name, or what their doses are supposed to be, and how much work that already is on their plate in terms of managing that with their food. And so really, I think understanding that whole concept just seems logical. If that's where you're going, stress management just seems like a logical one to take for your own personal benefits too. So how can interested listeners find out more about the courses or find you online?
Okay, so we are at www.medexn.com. So that's MEDEXN.com. And I probably, Lynn, you'll have that up, I'm sure, somewhere.
Yes, put the link in the show notes for sure.
Put the link in. And they can go online and just look through we have everything done in categories. So if you have an interest in diabetes, you click on the diabetes categories, and all of our courses come up on that. Plus, we have some free resources. So if you're just looking for information, for example, in the diabetes category section, we have all kinds of free PDFs that you can print off, and some little short videos from our course author, who's Dr. Sherry Kohlberg, who's like a world authority on diabetes. She's also a type 1 diabetic and an athlete, so she knows when she speaks. She was the educator of the year for the American Diabetes Association. So she's amazing. And she did this course specifically for us for Canada. So everything's in, it's a Canadian edition, because the way that we measure, for example, blood sugar is different than it does in the US. And a lot of the courses out there are geared for US, and we're Canadian. So we have that. So you can go on and check out our free resources as well. You can also email me. So I'm at heather@medexn.com, and maybe you can put that as well in a link. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help.
Well, and you're in our Holistic Nutrition Hub community now. I added you in, so I'll tag you in the post when this comes out, and then anybody who has questions can refer to the post as well, so that you'll see the messages also. Yeah, so that's great. Did you have anything that you wanted to add that I didn't touch on, or that you think that would be valuable for them to know?
You know what? I just think I look at the evolution of how I got to where I am. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of us get into this because of maybe personal experience. You know, we've had issues with digestion, and then we've kind of gone on, or we've had other health concerns, and we've kind of gone on to become nutritionists or whatever. But just know, like, whatever it is that made you want to become that, that person and learn more about it. Your clients also have all of those other needs as well. So just thinking about, for example, if you are working with people that have all of these different health concerns, the more information that you can have about it, because just think back about how you probably did tons of research
Yeah.
on fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
And I know I did a lot of research on cancer so having that extra layer of knowledge that you can help your clients with is really invaluable. I guess maybe
Yeah.
that's my way.
No, 100%. I mean, and that's something really important to say is like, going to an authority that is creating courses like this for our continuing education. That's what we need to be looking for in terms of, broadening our scope of practice and our better, like having a better understanding of what's going on with our clients in our niche. It's just one more tool in your tool belt, essentially. And you never know when it's going to come in handy either. So
Absolutely. You just never know who you're talking to.
exactly, 100%. Well,
Yep.
great. Thanks for hopping on the show today. And yeah, we look forward to sharing the information that you had for us today. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, definitely reach out to Heather. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to speak with you.
Anytime. You too.